generally where you have salts is where you had old seabeds. And when the earth formed itself, it left areas that had been old seabeds where there were salt deposits, and they're just sitting there. Usually in arid areas because they haven't been leached by Mother Nature. So when we get there to farm them in these arid valleys in the inner mountain areas of the west, there's an awful lot of areas that have a lot of salt that have to be leached out.
Are they working on a filter for salt water?
The question is, are they working on a filter for salt water? They do have ability to desalinate water. And it's a very expensive process, costs a lot. Most of it's done by electricity, by electrolysis process. And there are places in the Middle East where they actually supply drinking water for communities from the ocean because there's no fresh water available. So you go to Saudi Arabia, there's some desalination plants. You know, they've experimented with it. I assume that there might be you know, like the Navy has experimented a lot with it for ships and the like, so they can always generate their own fresh water out in the middle of the ocean. They actually desalinize the Colorado River at the border between U.S. and Mexico. They send it through a reverse osmosis filter system, and we guarantee Mexico a certain water quality when it enters their country. And so it's monitored, and there is a desalination plant right at the border to guarantee that we take the salts out that we've added into that water through all the irrigation that's done and the reclaimed water that comes back into that river. And so it costs the taxpayers of the United States a lot of money to guarantee the Colorado River to be of a reasonable quality when it enters Mexico. So, so it's done today. It's a practice. It's very expensive. There it's a political value, and so it's worth the cost politically to do it. Saline alkali is another salt that's out there in the marketplace, so to speak. It can be kind of a nuisance because it isn't always a leachable salt. And it may have to be developed into a leachable salt by using some kind of soil amendments. And then the last one there is non-saline alkali, which we call black alkali. This is another one that you can see sometimes in a field, and probably you've all seen it but didn't know what you're looking at. You can look out across the field, and especially where you have good dark earth. And we can go out south of Walla Walla here, and you can look out across some of these fields, and it'll be a real nice, dark, rich loam soil, and there'll be places that look real slick, shiny. It's where the water isn't penetrating good. You know, it'll look like it was puddled up there for no given reason. It's not a depression in the field. It's just there. All of a sudden, there's this slick spot. It looks like almost like black grease on the field. Well, that's black alkali. What it does is it breaks down the soil particles so that you get you lose that flocculation, they call it, the clustering of particles. It just breaks down into individual pieces so that it compacts real tight, then the water can't get through it. It breaks down the soil structure, and in the process water can't get through it, so it looks like a slick spot out there in the field after a rain. The rest of the field's absorbing the water, good intake rates, except where that black alkali is, and it just sits there and puddles. Well, some ways to deal with that are to add gypsum to the ground. Gypsum is calcium based, and it does a chemical change, a reaction effectively in the ground, and trades out calcium for sodium, and the sodium becomes leachable at that point, and you can get rid of it. What, gypsum? G-Y-P-S-U-M. Gypsum. Lime. That's another form that they call it. They lime the field. L-I-M-E, lime. Another thing they do, they will actually apply acid liquid acid diluted to the field to go out and spray it on. And there they're creating an immediate chemical reaction where they're getting the sodium to bind up with hydrogen and make it a bicarbonate, and then it becomes dissolvable, and then they can leach it. The sodium is generally the critter that's the problem. Too much sodium is not good in the ground or in your body.